Hi guys, story recaps here. I am going to explain a 2017 Australian post-apocalyptic horror drama film called Cargo. Please try to like or dislike the video, it is important to us. At the beginning of the film, we see a family including a man named Andy, his wife, and their daughter. They are safe in the boathouse surviving the zombie attacks. Andy is sailing the boat that day. He notices two children playing on the bank of a river. Andy smiles and waves his hand when he sees them. However, the father of those children is against it. And he pulls out his gun and shows it to Andy. Andy goes inside after watching it. Andy and his wife are having a late night conversation. Now 3 times food has been left in the boat for them. As a result, his wife advises shifting to a town and selling the boat. As a result, they can organize the food. That town was around 30 to 40 kilometers away. Andy, on the other hand, forbids his wife because he does not want to put themselves in trouble. Obviously, going on the ground was dangerous. As a result, he decided to remain on his boat. Andy discovers a shattered sailboat when he wakes up the next day. He goes there in search of food and other necessities. When he is looking for food, he hears strange sounds coming from the boat. Andy returns to his houseboat with a few items. Fortunately, Andy had found for the food for 3 months. They were both happy about it. His wife tells him, "Get some rest." And she departs to grab additional items from the boat. Unfortunately, a zombie attacks her. Andy is showing his love to his little daughter when he discovers the bloodstains on the boat deck. It was a sign that his wife had been attacked by the zombie. It indicates that his wife will be transformed into a zombie in 48 hours. Andy, on the other hand, is disturbed because it was difficult for him to believe. He was still hopeful that his wife would recover. As a result, he arrives on land with his wife and daughter, abandoning the boat. Andy notices a vehicle from a distance as he walks. When Andy is filling up the car with gas, a zombie appears. Andy drives off the car as soon as he notices it. After a while, his wife gets out of the car as they stop their car, so she can change her young daughter's diaper. But she collapses on the floor, in the worst condition she has ever been in. She comes to her wits and tells Andy that he should leave her here. She starts yelling because she was terrified of turning into a zombie. Andy and her newborn girl will be infected by her. Andy, being kind, forces his wife to sit in the car and also smashes the car door handle so she does not have to go out. After a while, a zombie appears in front of their car. Andy is terrified and, in his confusion, runs his car into a tree. When Andy regains consciousness, he discovers that his wife is already converted into a zombie. His wife attacks him as he prepares to leave the car with his little daughter. As a result, Andy is also infected. He drags his daughter out of the car, and begins sobbing. But he had to keep his cool for the sake of his little daughter. He encourages himself by putting on his wife's stopwatch. As a result, he could set a 48-hour stopwatch timer. And the countdown to his conversion into a zombie has begun. He begins walking on foot, carrying his daughter. While walking, he runs into the same zombie who caused the car accident with the tree. Andy is confronting the zombie to save himself and his daughter. Then a girl named Thumi appears. She says, "Don't hurt my father, keep your distance from him." She injures her hand with a little stone, causing it to bleed. Her father pursues her, smelling her blood. Following that, Andy moved to the town mentioned by his wife. Andy walks into the town school and meets a kind instructor. She also bandages Andy's wound. She allows him to spend the night here. Andy considers entrusting his young daughter to her for her own safety. However, that teacher was diagnosed with cancer and has only a few months to live. Knowing this, he changes his ideas. Thumi's mother, on the other hand, is shown killing the zombie accompanying indigenous Australians. As a result, the town may be secured by killing the zombies. She is also on the lookout for her daughter Thumi. Thumi used to adore her father and did not want to be apart from him even after he had converted into a zombie. So she had hidden his father while digging a pit in the soil. She used to look after her father, so that he wouldn't be killed by her mother, or indigenous Australians. So it was the reason she was living alone and hiding from her mother. Andy, on the other hand, is seen whose health was deteriorating at night. He was vomiting blood and losing his senses. When he wakes up in the morning, He checks his watch and sees that he only has 32 hours left. Andy leaves with his daughter. He notices a car from a distance while walking. As he walks to that car, a man targets him with his rifle. That shot, however, was intended for a zombie approaching on Andy's backside. That man exclaims, "Help me!" because that man's foot was buried beneath a tank. He hands Andy the keys and instructs him to remove the tank. While pulling, Andy removes the tank, and the man invites Andy into his shelter house, where he was living with his wife. After a while, that man invites him to accompany him so that he may show Andy his work. As a result, he may be able to keep himself secure from the zombies. He demonstrates that he capture humans, as food for zombies. He may shoot zombies if they approach him. After killing zombies, he takes their belongings. So he may make use of these items, if the situation improves in the coming days. Andy looks at Thumi, and an old man in the cage. Andy wasn't feeling well, but he didn't have a backup plan for keeping his daughter safe. When he walks into the shelter, he discovers that his little daughter is secure with that man's wife. When he is satisfied, he begins to shoot himself in order to keep others safe. Because he didn't have any more time. Then that man's wife arrives and tells him, "Don't do such a thing. Your daughter will never be safe in the hands of the shelter house's owner. He is evil. He is not my spouse," she says, "and he left my husband to be murdered by the zombies. And he has kept her chained since then." Then, while looking for her, that man approaches there. He is aware of both of them. He knocks Andy out by beating him on the head with the gun. He confines him in the same cage as Thumi. When he realizes what is going on, he asks Thumi for assistance, saying, "Help me. We can leave from here together." Andy throws a rope at the zombie, tying it to a piece of flesh. When zombies pull the rope, the prison door opens slightly. Coming out of the cage, they return to the shelter house. Then they flee, taking his little daughter and that lady with them. After waking up in that sheltering house, that man tries to shoot them. And the lady who was said to be his wife is shot down and dies there. After that, they both hide in a spot and flee from there. Andy and Thumi are having a conversation the next morning. Andy informs Thumi that her father can no longer be saved because he is converted into a zombie. Thumi runs near a tree where she had left her father after tying when she hears it. However, she discovers that her mother had shackled her father into that tree after killing him. Thumi begins to cry when she sees it. She starts stroking her head with the stone. Andy doesn't have much time left, so he begins to escape from there. And he needed to keep his daughter safe before transforming into a zombie. He had to hand over her daughter to someone who could care for her when he died. After a while, Thumi hears cry of Andy's daughter, and when she goes to check, Andy was unconscious. Coming into consciousness, Andy considers moving to that family he saw on the bank of a river that day. Thumi agrees to take him to the riverbank. When Andy arrives, he discovers that the husband of that family has also been bitten by zombies. That man raises the same gun once more. He informs him that there are just 6 rounds left in the gun. He'll shoot 1 bullet at himself and 3 at his family. He asks Andy whether he may shoot himself and his daughter with the remaining 2 shots. Andy is taken aback and forbids him from doing so. But, instead of agreeing, he shoots himself and his family. In this sense, everyone is dead. Andy thinks of suicide when taking up the gun, as he feels disturbed. Thumi arrives at the same moment. She tells Andy, "I'd like to go back to my place. You are free to abandon your daughter to our indigenous Australians." She promises him that she will be safe there. Andy agrees since he needs to put his little daughter in a safe environment. A mountain is spewing smoke. Both begin to make their way there. The smoke was growing because her indigenous Australians were setting fire to the zombies. While traveling through a train tunnel, they notice the same owner of the shelter home. Thumi enters the parked car with Andy's daughter. As that man hunts for Andy, the combat begins. As a result, when Andy drops the gun, he is picked up by that man. Following that, he forcibly removes Thumi from the car. As a result, Thumi suffers a head injury. Andy regains consciousness and discovers that the man is holding his daughter in his lap. He is going to murder his daughter, but Andy's daughter is returned to him at his request. Later, Andy leaves with his little daughter, and Thumi. Because of a head injury, Thumi was tripping. Andy realized he didn't have much time left. Andy's condition is deteriorating as he walks a little further. and he was on his way to becoming a zombie. In the meantime, Andy notices a chunk of flesh. After that, he tells Thumi, "Take care of my daughter." Last time, he madly loves his little daughter. This is an extremely sensitive scene. Andy sees a chunk of meat and devises a strategy to mend it with the edge of a stick. Thumi's mother and indigenous Australians arrive on the scene on the other side. When they are leaving after defeating the undead, they notice Thumi and Andy with his daughter. They were both on Andy's back. Thumi had brought Andy there, leading him with the stick that had a piece of meat tied to it. Thumi intervenes when the indigenous Australians are about to kill Andy once they arrive. And she sprays there, taking out Andy's wife's fragrance, so Andy may feel and remember his family. They then murder Andy. The little girl's tummy is then seen to have a written statement made by Andy. In white, he has scribbled, "Thank you." Then, as they had done with Thumi's father, they concealed Andy in that tree to prevent the infection. Finally, the little girl had a safe home to live and a family to care for her. Subscribe and turn on the notification. You can also dislike or like the video to appreciate our hard work.